Be like, I'm a sad emo man. I'm gonna make myself into a demon.
Damn.
Just
Edgy.
because my dad wouldn't give me even a single land to rule over.
It's sad enough to proclaim emo-ness. It's even worse when you're like, oh, I'm an emo man.
I'm an emo man.
Just an emo man.
Living without a land.
I turned into a giant snake and killed everyone.
So you know how the div, like whatever blood you like bathe in or whatever, it like turns you into the monster that you are?
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck kind of monster did she bathe in? A rose? Like,
I think I don't know what it did with her. Yeah.
I have some questions here, okay? And then you
I'm
answer
gonna have to
right
give
now.
that some thought because I didn't even think about it.
Because Azad mentioned when he bathed in that guy's heart blood, it was like because he had bat wings and whatever. And he was like, I didn't know I was going to get claws and be that ugly. And and so I'm curious which creature she bathed the little drops of blood in.
Imagine you get in there and you come out exactly the same, and they're like, you are literally the worst thing that could happen. You are the worst
Like,
representation
wow.
of any monster.
Yeah.
We were taking bets on when that would happen. Didn't think this century, but all right.
Yeah. You have to bathe in the heart blood of a creature, right? So that means when she went to Paris and was like, hey, can I like make my kid poison? Paris was like, sure, and just went out and killed a div and ripped its heart out so that she could
It
have a
doesn't
couple
say it has
drops.
to be a heart.
It says it has to be heart blood.
Yeah, like
Isn't
I
all
was
blood
like,
heart blood?
I was confused about
I think that means it actually has to be from like within the heart. when you
because
pull it
they're
out.
like, oh no, you only had a couple drops, so that's why you're a little weird. Like, that's what I'm thinking because I don't think Paris or Parisa gave her the heart blood. I think she's just like, oh, you're some dumb chick that needs some protection. Like, she's not gonna kill her own to protect some random,
like
Well,
a witch doctor,
I
and she
mean,
just takes
I
a
would.
bunch of lavender and is like, and you're healed.
because you're all about the violence, Chris. We know.
The
You'll
violence,
kill
everything.
anybody for any reason.
I know.
Why not? Everyone deserves
justice.
that.
Why
But also,
not?
For my king.
Also,
Because I can't think of a reason not to kill everybody.
Well, I mean, when you look at it, like they were the most untrusted ones that were like untrusted by everyone. So why not just go out and stab someone? You know, just take them out, take the heart blood, be like, you know what, you're just gonna be resurrected anyway.
It could have been from the other divs too, because they didn't get along with the other ones. So they
Yeah,
were
no
like,
one
hell
really
yeah, a chance to kill one of the other divs. Like, we have no problem with that.
Also,
We've been waiting for this moment.
yeah, this is a preemptive strike though, because you're like, hey, you weren't evil today, or maybe not tomorrow, but one day you could have been. There's potential there, and I'm just trying to save mankind.
Welcome to Dog-Eared Discourse, a nerdy little double date where we talk about the book we're reading and where we left off. Every month, we're pulling a new and exciting book off our shelf. We've broken them down so you can buddy read with us or just hang out while we discuss, predict, and nerd out. If you want to read along right now, we are reading Girl, Serpent Thorn by Melissa Basherdoost. A quick recap of where we left off. We've got Azad, who is a big baddie Shahmar, and he has usurped and or reclaimed his throne, depending on whose side you're on, from Soraya's royal family. Soraya healed and released Parvaneh, the moth-like creature div thing. Shahmar got really mad, and he flew her over to his mountain. Because that's what you do when you're mad at someone. You imprison them in a mountain. All right, the main cast of characters we got today are Azad, the Shahmar, who is the antagonist. We've got Soraya, the protagonist, who is the main character of the book. We've got Sorush, her brother. We've got Layla, a childhood friend who has now married Sorush. We've got Tamina, mind you, I'm not going to pronounce any of these correctly, but Tamina, the mother who initially caused Soraya to be a cursed child of death. And then you have Parvaneh, a moth-like Peric, who is helping Soraya learn the truth about her curse, who's kind of shady, but also kind of like mothy and oh yeah. I'm Chris, and I have just done the intro, and now we're going to switch on over to a 60-second synopsis, and we're going to give it to Juan. Juan, are you ready for your 60-second synopsis?
Yes.
Kelly, are you ready with the timer?
Yes.
Woohoo!
Pew, 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 pew.
Give me a count in.
3, 2, 1, go.
Soraya is on the move. she's trying to escape from the Shahmar out of desperation. So she's running through these tunnels, and then she remembers that she can get back to where Parvaneh, and out of desperation, she is trying to get some help from her. So once Parvaneh is freed, Soraya uses the little feather duster thing to heal her wings. Psst, 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 psst. She is recaptured by the Shahmar's goons.
30 seconds.
The Shahmar then drags her into the heart of the mountain, which is like a div hive. That's where all these fools are born. And as Soraya tried to escape, she is found by Parvaneh. And they wander off into the woods.
15.
To trying to find the rest of the Parviks. I'm getting then a lot of arguing between Soraya and Shahmar. Eventually, Parvaneh is captured
3,
again,
2,
and then she's back to the city and everything happy ever after.
Thanks, Juan. That really wasn't great, but okay.
That was great.
Thanks, Juan. That was really
We
great.
got lots of information about
I
Parvaneh.
summed it up.
You did sum it up. You summed it up in such a great way, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
We have some supportive friends over here.
Yeah, we got to be supportive every now and then. We can't just tear him down because he likes coloring books.
I dotted the I's and the T's.
You crossed your I's and you dotted your T's. All right. So today we are drinking a drink.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we've been drinking the drinks for some time. No,
You can't tell.
if you can't tell.
And this one is freaking gorgeous.
Yeah, so this one is the Div Within.
We all have a div within us.
Some of us want it.
And
more
one
than
more
others.
of these, and then it might start coming out.
All right. Yeah, that was. You can cut my mic.
What are we drinking, Chris?
Thank you. We're drinking the Div Within. Oh, you want the actual recipe?
Yeah,
Okay.
our listeners can join us and and explore the div within themselves once
Sure.
they have a few of these.
Chris, there might be some folks among us that are colorblind. You should explain the cocktail because
so-
otherwise they're not going to.
Okay, so the Div Within is a layered cocktail, and it's green on the bottom and like this yellowish color on the top. And the reason for that is because of Soraya, and she's got that like green mucky blood flowing through her, and this kind of looks like that, which is, it sounds worse than it looks.
No, it doesn't sound bad at all. It looks really cool. It has, if you look at it from the side, you can see this really deep, like emerald green color, and it kind of blends into this really beautiful yellow color. But if you look at it from the top, you can faintly see the green underneath, which kind of reminds me of whenever they describe Soraya's like poison going through her veins, which starts to kind of come up to the surface as she gets really emotional. Not anymore, because in this half of the book, she's lost her powers. But at first, that power would start to like come up to the surface. And I think this really does a good job of representing that.
Yeah, I think that this does this does a really good job of representing the way that it would envision her blood flowing through her veins, where you see it like kind of through the skin, and it even describes that at some points in the book. So what it is that's two ises. We've got
So would it be?
what it be. So this drink is
Strong.
clearly. So the green layer at the bottom, this is, it looks like sludge when you make it, but it is apricot juice and blue curacao. Mix those together, it comes out like this green sludge looking thing. And then the top of it is, we've got plantation rum. I thought plantation was kind of fitting for this one because it's a nice smooth white rum, and it's also, there's lots of plants, and that takes place in the later part of the book. So it's equal parts plantation rum, lemonade, and orange juice, and then a couple dashes of orange bitters. We shake that over ice, pour that into a martini glass, then try and, without mixing it too much, pour the green sludge stuff into the bottom of the glass by like floating it in through the side. And that gets
Using
a spoon. So that gets that kind of layered drink. And then I took a rose petal and threw it on top for good measure, just in case.
I really like that you use the apricot in this too, because that is kind of a flavor of the area. And so it kind of ties it into the culture as well.
Yeah, it is a Persian fairy tale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
As
do
we
like
learned
the
a little bit
green.
late. We had no idea when we first started reading this book. We're like, where is this setting?
Yeah, we had to look up
Like,
so many
what
words.
are these words?
I do like the green and the green and the gold color. It reminds me of like fancy silk or something that
Ooh,
has
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
like a
yeah.
deep green with like embroidered golden thread through it or whatever.
Yeah, and this, the difference between this drink and the drink we had in the first half of the book really represents the character. Because in the first half of the book, she was kind of still learning who she was. She was trying to do what's best for her, and like just she was kind of being like a little goody two shoes. And that last drink we had kind of was that. Like it was very beautiful, like very regal.
Soft.
And soft, yeah. And then this one is like, oh no, she got some poison. She got some stuff she got to
She's
take
bringing
care
it.
of. Yeah.
It's got a bit of a kick. Anyway, cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Let's go ahead and talk about predictions.
All of us won.
Yeah,
All
we
of us
did.
were great.
I was dead certain that she was going to escape from the Shah and she was going to get recursed somehow. I didn't know how. And she was going to help the Perix, which is Parvaneh and friends, and take the crown back.
Technically, all those things happen. So, ding,
Hell
ding, ding,
yeah.
ding, ding.
I don't think you could be more right.
So
Killed it.
I think I'm mostly right. So the evil guy took her to Mount Demon Castle, and he will go back to his newly claimed castle, and she will team up with the Parix. And I said the Yatu as well. And I also said that the brother and the mother die, and then she becomes queen. But none of that happened.
Some of it came close.
Yeah, she became queen.
She became part of the royal family again. And then the Smigmorg bird gave
Simorg.
sure. That bird gave the feather and powers to everyone. I was like, dude, just feathers everywhere. The big bird comes to the rescue.
You get a feather. You get a
Oprah.
feather.
Yeah, just
Oprah
literally
bird.
like spread the love of feathers. And
And kind
the,
of that was true.
the Smorg bird did come in and like save the day. So Big Bird did show up and save the day, but like not in that way.
No, he tried to give her a feather, and she's like, "Nah, I'm
that was at the
good."
end.
And then she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go off to your brother and give him a feather," because she like kept it in her beak.
I said that she will find her way out, or Perix will find her, and they will team up to fight the Demon King.
Well, that happened.
Yep.
Both of those things.
Huzzah!
It's crazy because I didn't even read the second half when I made that prediction.
Of course, none of us did.
Are you a sightseer? Are you a fortune teller?
Well, I guess it's my turn to get burned at the stake.
Okay,
Okay,
I was
continue.
very right also, like all y'all. I said she teams up with the Perix, fights the Demon King, is what I meant. And well, that's totally what I meant, guys, not just this random demon. Okay, and has them join the humans as good guys. And the bird comes back and she is queen. And from what I read,
She was
her
you're
brother-
mostly right.
her brother would not have become king if it wasn't for her. So she was the one who became queen. And he was like, hey, I'm your brother, right? So I get my kingdom back, right?
She's like queen,
Yeah,
like in the
that didn't happen
yes,
at
But
all.
he was like, okay, yeah, I'm leaving, and you can stay here and take care of this kingdom. We're gonna go like
And she was
winter
like-
south for 6 months, like old people. And she's like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the forest.
Yeah, she's like, nope.
with
So
my,
she
new,
didn't
my
become.
new girl.
She didn't
Yeah.
become queen. She became part of the royal family again. She was welcomed with open arms back to the royal family. So, but you
Still.
were
Still.
you're very right.
I think Kelly
We're
was
all
the
very
most
right.
right
I
though,
think Kelly was the most right.
because she mentioned that she gets recursed.
Yes.
None of us said that.
None of
so
us said it, but it happened.
It did.
All
Yeah,
right.
good job, Kelly. My favorite part about this book was the Perix and also the moth girl, Parvaneh.
Parvaneh, yeah.
Parvaneh. God, she was so cool. She was like kind of dodgy and kind of sketchy, and she had like a crooked past, but she was like, I'm gonna try to do good for my peeps. And then she came through. Girl came through.
I like that she remained dodgy the entire time.
Yeah, she was just like sketchy the whole time, and you're just like, can we trust her? And it's like, yeah, probably not. She's a demon. But
Yeah, and it's funny because you feel like she's super dodgy, but she totally has like her own honor code and whatever. Like she's doing the right thing, but to everyone that isn't in on it, you're just like super sketched out by her. Like, I can't trust her. Meanwhile, she's like, she might be one of the only people with like that has some like honorable intentions in what she's actually trying to do.
No,
Well,
No,
she
she
was like
doesn't.
imprisoned for like 200 years or some shit. So, I mean,
No, she
She's probably
says
a little-
specifically, I care about who I care about and everyone else can fuck off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's my point. That she has like granted, it's not like for the betterment of mankind or anything. She's it's very
It's just
it's very selfish. She sticks to her guns. I guess she's not like
Okay.
all willy nilly about. She's like, well, I don't know. This might be better for me right now, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do this now.
No,
she's like committed to whatever
whenever
it is. That she's
she's like single focused. Like if she's committed to something, she's like, nope, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's gonna be the hard road, but that's what we're doing.
I mean, I guess Kelly, to your point, where she's asked whether she felt bad about like the demise of all these people, she's like, nope. If you want to know the truth, nope.
How did the Shahmar become the Shahmar? So he captures Parvaneh, and honestly, at the time, he just kept her in a cave because he had his own family issues going on, so he didn't want anybody to know that he had her in his company, and just basically kept her there and wouldn't let her out. From her point of view, in her desperation to get away from him, she tells him, like, you're better than your family. You should go to your enemy nobles and like break free from your family. Ask them, and so
Plays into the jealousy card and all that.
exactly. And so he goes to the other nobles and gets them to help him overthrow his family, and
He becomes king.
becomes a king. And then he becomes fearful that he's going to lose power. And so she tells him to tear the heart out of a div, bathe in its blood, and gain power. And he does. And she wasn't expecting him to do that, but he did. And so
he was very influenced by her, and I don't think she realized how much he would do that she said he should do, because she was just trying to get free, and she was like telling him all this crazy shit, and he's like, okay, I'm going to go there. I'm going to get crazy.
Yeah,
and he fucking did.
And he was a misguided youth that he was like, oh yeah, you're right. I should kill them all.
yeah. So she was trying to just like play on his insecurities. It completely backfires, and she
'Cause
Created a demon
she
lord.
just wanted out.
And
she
yeah.
was just like, I just want out of here. Maybe he'll let me go if I tell him to kill all of his family and he becomes king. Nope. Okay. Now what do I need to do?
well,
Become a demon.
but I mean, she gets confronted. Soraya, our main character, comes and confronts her and is like, I know what you did. And she's like, yeah, what of it? I'm free now. And she's like,
Yeah.
are you sorry that you hurt all of these people? And she's like,
No.
no, it's not my family. What do I care?
Yeah, it's not her problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not my problem. They might be dead, but they're not my people that I care about.
Yeah.
And I'm free. What do you want from me?
But
Morality.
Yeah. So I think, okay, the whole thing about these divs, they're not born this way, like the Lady Gaga song. Okay. They are
No.
freaking made.
They-
They're
they-
made.
They're literally
Yeah.
shoved out of the Duzka when the destroyer releases them into the world. And it's like every time one of them dies, a new one gets shoved out into the world and fully adult and is like, all right, well, and it's the same type, right? We find out that there's 3 types. There's the casters, the drudges, and the pariks.
Yeah.
And every time one of those dies, another one comes out. So
Very regulated system.
yeah,
Yeah.
population control is really on point on this thing.
So I just found that interesting that like she's like, I don't care about anybody else. I wonder how old she is, because if you were like a human that just recently, well, I mean, I know she's at least 200 years old because she's been imprisoned for that long. And so I can understand why she has a disconnect between humans and any other divs, you know, because really all of them were human at one point, but after being in prison for 200 years, you don't really give a fuck. And you're like, oh, my sisters.
I'm not necessarily sure if any of them were human at one point, because it says that the destroyer like shoves them out whenever one of them dies, and there's the destroyer and the creator, but they say that the humans think that they were all humans at one point, but they never actually confirmed that in the
okay.
book, because Shahmar Azad turned into a
Shahmar.
Sure.
yeah.
Shahmar. He turned into a div during his lifetime. So they're like, oh, now it makes sense. All divs are from humans. So I could see that logical connection. And then 200 years later, it just became truth. Right. But I don't
I don't remember that even being mentioned in the book, honestly, that divs were humans.
I thought all divs were created
I
from
thought
humans.
Yeah, I thought it was mentioned in the first half of the book where
Well,
they
that creates a chicken
the
and
priest-
the egg kind of
priest
situation,
made it.
though, because it is. We know for sure
That's
you
very
can
true, though.
create
Yeah.
a div. You can make a human into a div, right? You just bloop, pour some blood on them. Now you've got powers. Great, you're one of us. But for that to be true, there had to be an original div.
Well, my question
Yeah.
on this is, what if the divs did come first and it didn't require humans? And what if when you die as a human that's been transformed, you don't come out of the Duzka, Duzakh, Duzka,
Okay.
right?
In the mountain.
In the mountain, the like birthplace, the womb of the divs. What if you don't come out of there and you're just like, all right, well, you're in hell now.
Yeah, and there was mention of like the transformation of the Shahmar. How she was like, "Oh, I didn't expect the transformation to be that wild." She thought that it was just going to be like some altering, it seemed like. And then once he turned into like this complete monster, none of them had seen that before, and they were not expecting that to be the case.
Right.
I wonder if it's because of the amount of blood that he used. So basically, what we know of what
You
we
should have
know in
started
this,
with a dash, man.
right? What we know of this story is that if you bathe in div blood, you could gain their powers. So Soraya, our main character, was as a baby bathed in
A couple of drops.
a couple of drops of blood, and she gained the powers of poison. So nobody could touch her because she's poisonous. But that was just a couple of drops. This guy straight up tore a heart out of a div and then like took a freaking shower. Probably used the heart as a loofah and just like went to town. And he becomes a huge freaking basically godlike creature
Yeah.
and reigns king.
Yeah, he did not read the instructions on that like concentrate. He's just like, "What? Nah."
Nah, I'm
We're
just gonna
good.
drink straight from the jug.
Yeah.
So one of the things I really liked about the divs was they finally described the Perics as like what they are, and that, like it says that they're all like human looking, which is great. But it also says at this point we find out that they can also take on another shape, and you can make the connection that Parvaneh can turn into a moth, and so as you're going through and you can see like, okay, well that one has owl wings, they can turn into an owl. So my question is, if you could be a flying creature and a Peric, what kind of flying creature would you be? What kind of wings would you want? And like what kind of kind of like the personality traits, it seems.
I think I would be a bat. I really
Ooh,
like the
okay.
idea of eating lots of fruit
Okay.
and being nocturnal because the spirit comes easily to me, and then just being a cutie little like they're fox.
a flying
The
fox.
big
Yeah, flying
fruit
fox.
bats.
Yeah, so bat is my choice.
Okay, bat is your choice.
I'm just going to go with
Okay.
my gut here. I mean, I would say gnat.
A gnat, and one of those little super tiny ones that are like you grab at them and then you just don't have them anymore.
Yeah, and even if you grab it, your hand is too many gaps, so it can just crawl out and fly away.
You can just be invincible.
Yeah.
I'd only live for 2 days, but that's fine.
That's fine.
I'd be so fast.
Well, you're a div, so you're technically immortal. So you just like imagine.
I just regenerate every couple hours.
Oh man, imagine that. Imagine how much you could drive like a scholar insane, especially if you're just a little tiny div, which is a little fruit or a little like fruit fly that's a little gnat, just buzzing around this one guy's studio, and he gets so mad. That would be great. I like your answer. I think I would go with, I want to say like either an albatross, so I can just fly for like ever,
Song would be
or
stuck in your head always.
I know, or a dragonfly. I like their little double wings.
Yeah, those are cool.
I was gonna say hummingbird without a doubt.
Oh.
That's a very you answer.
Yeah.
Because you're just like zoop, zoop, zoop.
Yep. You.
It's very flamboyant and have lots of colors and very fast.
That's actually what got to
And
me.
got the
Is
sugar.
it's the feathers.
Yeah.
The not fluorescent. What are they?
Iridescent?
Iridescent. Yes, the iridescent feathers. Woo-hoo. Those boys know how to dress.
I mean, they're very fancy, and they do like if you have a little hummingbird feeder,
Yeah.
they'll like zip at each other and stuff. They do little fights midair, so you could have like midair combat. And
There
stuff.
is nothing more exciting to me than if I could mix combat sports and flamenco.
Oh my god.
That,
Hummingbird.
that is the most Spanish thing I can think of. Flamenco with a sword. Whew. And if that sword is kind of your face because they got like that little beak thing going on. Yeah. Flamboyant
the
fighting
face.
is, that's my next endeavor.
flamboyant fighting.
Yeah. And I will be called
A bard.
Hummingbird.
You'll be called a bard.
No!
Your
I've
worst
become what I've
Yes.
hated.
It was meant to be.
So Parvaneh, she basically just has no qualms at all, completely destroying an entire city if it means that she gets to be free. But she's being presented as one of these main characters who, other than that, she's pretty great. So what do you guys think? Is she a protagonist?
I think so at this point.
I think that she's fine. I mean,
She's fine.
people act in their own interests all the time and can still do good things. I don't think you have to be for the greater good of a race that isn't even your own.
It's like a whole other species.
Yeah, it's
Species,
like,
yeah.
why the heck would I care? Like, why should I care about them? I'm going to be around much longer than them. They're going to be, like, in the blink of an eye, they're going to be dead anyway. So what the heck does it matter?
And it's kind
I
of
just need to
established.
be free.
Right. And it's kind of established that the relationship between all of these people and monsters is kind of antagonistic. So, it's almost in her best interest if she's freed. And on top of that, a few of these people that are probably going to give her grief later on go by the wayside.
Yeah.
I think, again, but it's like kind of, you have to, in order to justify that, you really have to see things through her lens, because otherwise you're just like, damn, you are insane. You just,
Heartless.
you just like through a little lie to you happened to like manifest into this massive massacre.
Okay, well, along those same lines then, and I'll tell you what I think after I hear what you guys say, is Azad / Shahmar really a bad guy then?
Yes, absolutely.
Why?
Because he turned against his own people. So I think it's more of a matter of, for at least for this conversation, I think it's more of a matter of, are you willing to turn against your own tribe? Are you willing to kill your own tribe to make yourself better? And under no circumstance was Parvaneh doing that. She was cast out of her entire tribe and she couldn't go back, but she would never betray them. She got her like wings ripped up when she would not tell the Shahmar anything about where her people were. Like, she just would not tell them. And yeah, he was hunting them down, but she would never betray him. But given the first opportunity, Azad was like, oh yeah, I'll kill everybody just to get like my way.
Mm-hmm.
And
And Soraya was almost that way too, because like she understood the consequences that would happen if she took the feather out of the fire at that point. She was like, yeah, it's gonna like kind of mess with their protection, but there's no danger around here and I'm gonna get free of my curse, so that's what I want. And they never like acted in my interests, so I think it's worth it. And then shit hit the fan.
Right. She wasn't given any information to
Yeah.
indicate that what she was doing was going to be very bad.
Yeah,
Right?
so she didn't do it consciously, but she knew that it was going to at least take away the protection.
It was a risk. It was
Yeah.
a risk she was willing to take to try and like become better. And yeah, it turned out real bad.
I have a few thoughts on that I think might contradict what you guys are saying.
Go for it.
But first, I found myself agreeing a lot with what Chris was saying as far as Parvaneh. I think she's internally consistent with how she views things, and she's not necessarily going against, at the time, who she thinks is like her tribe or who she is loyal to. At this point, I think she's like, it's us versus them. And she might view like all humans as, if one of them could do this to her, I think all of them will do this to me. But as far as Soraya goes, I got the feeling that she spent a lot of her time trying to like pin everything bad that happens to her on other people and how she was fooled by them and how I was used and all this other
Yeah.
stuff, instead of just saying like,
these are my values, and this is what I stand for, and this is how I'm going to act.
But also taking responsibility for your terrible actions. Sometimes you just got to be like, whoopsie daisy.
Oops.
But hey, all of us that are still alive, we all learned a valuable lesson here. Other than
don't take the only shield away from this area. Yeah. That's a bad idea.
And like even later on when she's like confronting the shamanam of a few things.
Shahmar.
It's not
The
hard, you guys.
Shahmar.
Shahmar is an easy word.
The shamanam ding dong.
There are a lot of hard words in this one, and you guys chose the easiest one to not understand.
Anyways, continue.
Go ahead.
Yes. So all of that. No, that there was like a point where she's arguing with him and she's figured out a way to make it all his fault that she did this.
Yeah.
And he's like, I did not do that to you. I simply didn't stop you. And she's like, me.
Yeah, she definitely has internal conflicts where she wants she wants to believe that she's still like a perfect person, and she was just manipulated and like wooed by him and stuff. But no, she made the conscious choice.
There was a point though towards the end of the book where she's like, I'm a damaged individual and I've messed up this world. And Parvaneh too was like, or Parvaneh, she was like, yeah, me too. I made some mistakes and I've messed up the world. And then they're also like Azad too. Like, I mean, he kind of messed up his whole thing too. And they're kind of like talking about how they're in this like triangle where it's like, okay, well, how can they trust each other? How can they work together? How do they work against each other? Like, they're all just in this like, this is a mixed up, fucked up relationship, this like triangle thing that they're all in. And they do talk about it. So at least they admit that they're messed up individuals.
Well, and like, honestly, at the beginning, right when Azad captures her, he's kind of like, isn't this great? Now we can live together and rule their mountain version of the town, and like it'll be great, and like rule over all the divs. And she kind of rejects all that, and she's like, no, I'm a prisoner here. I hate this. And he's like,
why?
A little taken aback, and he like genuinely thought that he was helping her, because he was like, you wanted revenge on your family for shunning you. You got that.
Yeah.
You wanted to be free of your curse.
Check.
You got that. You wanted to get as far away from the people who held you captive as possible.
With me.
With me.
Yeah.
You got that. Like, why aren't you happy? Like, I did everything you asked for.
Typical female.
Right.
I gave you literally everything you want.
Right. But I the reason why I asked you guys about him is that I'm wondering if a couple of words had been changed here or there, he's kind of romantic in a way. The place that really settled my mind, where I was like, a single shift in the tone would have made this an entirely different book. And the reason was the banquet. She's been moping around in her little room, which technically, as he said a couple of times, she's free to leave if she wants to. He gets her this gorgeous dress, and he brings her out and like on his arm brings her to this grand banquet hall. And she's even saying like, oh, kind of to your point, to the tone of how she's been the whole time, kind of shitty. She's like, he's only doing this because he knows this is what I've always wanted. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
That's okay, fine. But he's the bad guy, so it's manipulative. But if he wasn't a bad guy, it would be romantic. Okay. So it's really sweet and thoughtful. He presents her to all of his underlings as their master. Like, no, you listen to her. There's food, everything that she could have ever wanted. And like, she's being demanded that like these people pay homage to her, basically. And he gets her a gift that he genuinely thinks that she's going to like. It's a fucked up gift, but understandably, he thinks she's going to like it.
Because she hated the guy.
Yeah, so he gifts her
Ramen.
who is basically
it's ramen noodles.
One of the guys who like she grew up with.
It's kind of a dick.
It was kind of a dick to her, and we thought that he died in the first half of the book. But he comes back. He's alive. And basically is like presented to her as like a do what you want with him. We don't care. Whatever happens to him, happens to him. And like, I mean, that's fucked up, but it could be argued that that's what he thought she wanted. Right. So he was giving her the world as he knows it, and she's just rejecting him. So like, I'm not saying it's nice or good. I'm just saying he's not necessarily being
author
the bad
was
guy.
fucking with us because the entire time I was like kind of on the fence too. I was like, you know what? Like, if she disliked her family a little bit more,
Exactly,
she would be a queen. She'd be so happy. Like, they could rule the world together. Like, they got everything going for them.
That's discussed in there where she talks about how she really wanted to give into that urge.
Yeah.
Where she was like, yeah, I just wanted this to flow through my
And
veins.
her family does not deserve it. They've done nothing in her life to show that they actually deserve that sort of treatment. Like,
other than like, you know, keeping her prisoner and never letting her out among the people.
yeah, I know.
Other than solitary confinement,
She
they were great people. Other than the whole solitary confinement thing.
No, that's exactly my point. Like,
Yeah.
they never like stood up for her or like, you know, like treated her like a human. So I mean, I don't get it. Like, I don't get why she didn't give in. She's like, no, I need to keep my brother alive. I love him. Like, this is Zod guy, man. He's really great. He's pretty great. You know, like, he's way better than your brother.
And he gets you. He's been through literally the exact same thing as you did.
For sure. Like, yeah, no, I don't think I would go her route at all, except for the Perrick. Okay, you know, like, she's cool. She's cool looking. She sounds cool. She's kind of a rebel. She's a prisoner. And they had a little thing, you know, in the dungeon.
She's the bad girl.
I think it also helps that, you know, the Perrick saw her for her and didn't try to manipulate her overtly. Right? She definitely did a manipulator and found out later. She definitely a manipulator.
Just needed to get out of the dungeon, though. It's understandable.
But it wasn't super overt, and she knew going into it that she was being manipulated. Right? She knew this is a div; they can't be trusted. I'm going to go in with a 10-foot pole, and she gradually, you know, got up close and personal with the div, and it was one of those things where it's like, okay, well, she's not afraid of me, even though I can kill her with one touch. Like when she was cursed. And I think that was reassuring to her. And, you know, Azad wasn't afraid of her, but she was like, okay, that guy's just nuts because he's not afraid of me.
Yeah.
There's no reason he shouldn't be afraid of me. I can kill anything with one touch. But, a div, well, they're a completely foreign entity. So it makes sense why she wouldn't be afraid of me. But now that she's paying attention to me, she's actually listening to what I say. So I think that it was actually Parvaneh that kept the entire thing from crumbling down and from her giving in straight up to Azad and being like, you know what? You're right. This is all crazy.
If I was Soraya and there was no Parvaneh, I would 100,000% be like the evil queen.
City.
Yes, I'd decapitate my brother. But I mean, Parvaneh showed up with her little moth wings and was the most beautiful thing that happened in this book. So I could definitely see like why you gotta change your plans. You know, I gotta be good once in a while if it's gonna get this girl. You know,
if it's gonna get you some sexy moth wings.
Yeah, and I think now, Kelly, you've convinced me completely because during the time I was reading, I was like, man, this guy's kind of simping a little bit. He's like, I've got you everything you wanted, and
Big dragon
I've given you so many opportunities, and she constantly goes behind his back and is just giving this guy grief. And he's like, like you said, he had a note of, he's like going through his little notebook. He's like, but you said that, and he's like. And for Christmas, I had these things planned for you because you said that's what you want. And you mentioned that you really love that place. I was planning on taking you there. And
you want to go to Italy, baby? We're going.
Yeah, and
you want some
the
flowers? I'll put your flowers back. You destroyed them. That's fine. I'll get you more flowers.
Yeah.
You have obviously some bloodlust. Let's go check out this battle. There's plenty of blood there.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, okay.
I've been meaning to get some blood anyway.
You didn't like guts. Okay, got it. No guts. But what about the blood? There's a super important part that happened in the banquet, and that's where she walks forward into the group of divs and just kind of like surrenders to them.
I love that. That was her Game of Thrones Daenerys moment where she is walking among her people, and like she and the Shah are standing on the stage, I guess. I'm not 100% sure what the layout of this room is. So they're standing at like the head of the table, and all of the divs are, gathered in the banquet hall. and she walks down among the people
And they're paying homage to her and
They're, like,
aggressively.
well,
elegantly
they start touching
walking
her.
through, and they
Yeah.
all like reach out their hands and they start touching her and they start grabbing her and they start like
clawing at her.
taking pieces of her, and she's just letting it happen. She's like, yes,
Yep.
I am one of you, you are of me, and this is fine, and whatever happens is going to happen. And she like contemplates what would happen if she died there, and she doesn't, she's like,
Yeah.
whatever, this is what needs to happen. And the divs all get so enamored with her because she did this. They're like,
Pretentious, like, you know, she wasn't. Whereas the king
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Shahmar Azad was like, yeah, I rule over you, and they're like rolling their eyes, like, sure,
Yeah,
you're
they're all,
just
like,
doing all
making
the
fun of
work
him.
for us, yeah. But her, she was like, yeah, just take what you need.
I saw this scene as like her, so she's surrendering to them. She's surrendering to what they could do, like the power that they have, and that's attractive to them, right? So they're attracted to having power over something else. That's what it seems like the div's overarching thing is. I want some power over something else. And when the Shahmar came out and was like trying to conquer them, they kind of rolled their eyes because they're like, yeah, whatever. Like, because they're like, sure, we'll follow you. You meet our needs for right now, but it didn't really make any sense to them. Like, you're not our king. But for her, she was just like, yeah, you have the power. Yeah, you do whatever you want. And they were like, wait, really? And she was like, yeah. And then it all stopped, but they were like,
but we still don't
In-
trust her.
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and
they put that,
but
they
they-
put a pin
Yeah.
in that.
they
'Cause
put
they're
a pin in the. They're like,
she has something brewing in her.
yeah, there's something different about you than all other humans, because all other humans are gonna run away and scream and be like, oh no, and she's just like, whatever. And you're like, no fear.
Yeah.
We can make use of this.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that was like a good contrast. Like the attempted subjugation doesn't work for them, because they're just like, yeah, we're all immortal. We're just going to be popped back out of the demon womb. But like, yeah, it would suck to die, but 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 Soraya was more along the lines of, yeah, whatever. And they were like, all right, well, I guess you're one of us now. And so then they accepted her as their own. I thought that was pretty neat. That was a neat scene.
Yeah, that was really cool. Soraya's moving through the castle, trying to figure out, like, she's being sneaky and stuff. And she comes upon the Smorg bird, which is the one that grants basically the protection and gives people feathers and stuff. She just randomly comes across it, like in this little secret hiding place, like behind Azad's fireplace in his room. And she's like, holy shit, you're here. Oh my God. And she has like a mental breakdown. She's crying. She's like, I'm not worthy of you and all this stuff. She's like, I'm going to free you. And then she like leaves. And then Azad comes down with his like bat demon wings. He's like, hey, baby, what are you doing in my room? And she's like, I missed you. And she like plays this whole thing off. And she's like, yeah, let's go back to my home and be married. And then I'll kill my brother. And then we'll live happily ever after. And in her head, she's like, so this is what's coming out of her mouth. But in her head, she's like, how am I going to free this bird? How am I going to get out of here? How am I going to free the country? Like,
yeah, if I just say what he asked me to say, then I'll get a day. And then I can go and free the bird and it'll all be good.
yeah. And he's like, okay, let's leave right now. She's like, oh, fuck.
I love that anytime she's like, yeah, we can do that thing that you said. He's like, cool, let's go.
Let's do it now.
Because that's how I am too.
Yeah.
You are very much like that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, let's go skydiving now. What?
Oh, good. I booked it. As you were even halfway through that sentence of suggesting it, I booked it already.
Yeah, it's
and
only an hour away. Let's get in the car.
if it sounds fun, I'm doing it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And this is why our weekends are full.
Yes. When Soraya was moving towards her hometown castle, because she was trying to convince the Azad guy that she was going to kill her own brother and they were going to reign together, the divs that were accompanying her mentioned to her, they were like, yeah, you're interesting. And she was like, if I killed Azad, will you follow me? And he's like, well, I don't see why you would need to do that. I mean, you have it pretty good right now.
And we might still have use for him.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we live a good life. Like, why would you want to kill him? I think you have a great position right now. But that's where she learned. So she learned from a div that was like, we respect you more than we do Azad. And that's kind of where she was like, the wheels started to turn in her head, like, oh, if he was gone, they would still respect me and want, like honor my opinions and stuff.
Yes.
But like Parvaneh, they're gonna do what's best for them no matter what.
Yeah, so I think she understood that from then on, where Azad never did. Azad was like, I own you, you're going to rule under me, where she was seeing them as their own race and their species. And she's like, I'm not going to rule over you guys, but I'll let you do what you need to do.
It's like Azad thought of himself as a king, whereas she thought of herself kind of as equals with them, of like, you're going to do what's best for you. I'm going to do what's best for me. All right, that's fair. But Azad was like, no, I am king.
Yeah, well, you can garner some kind of respect there where, okay, fine, I won't kill everybody in your town because you respect that I need to get done what I need to get done.
I just need a little
Whereas
bit of
if it's a king relationship where it's like, you must avoid my town, then there becomes this kind of resentment of,
yeah, why?
You're not the boss of me.
Exactly.
And it's not in my interest to fuck up that town, so
Town fuck up it is.
there you go.
So it was after that point that she kind of started noodling on the idea of becoming poisonous again, right? And so she gets back to her room, her flowers are all fixed, and she's just like, okay, well, I've got this blanket. She was looking for anything sharp to stab, and she was like, okay, no, nothing sharp, because all of that had been removed. She's basically on suicide watch in this castle, and she finds the blanket that she was swaddled in as a child when bathed in the Div's blood, and it still had the blood on it. And she's like, this'll do. So she gets a bath and she like bathes in it to try and poison herself again, and it doesn't work. And then she throws the bathwater into the bushes so that way no one would see it. And I just love the next morning when she wakes up and it's like, for some reason the bushes have overgrown and are busting through the door. I thought that was the funniest scene where she was just like,
She was pissed though, I thought. She was like, it wasn't me. How come I don't have my powers back, but these fucking roses are growing like psychos?
Me.
Yeah,
Exactly.
That's true. Okay, so I have a question here.
Okay.
One of the things I was kind of pissed about with this book, overall I really like the book, but one of the things, you know how she went out, so when she was on the mountain, Parvaneh came with her little moth wings and took her out to a romantic stroll in the forest after they rescued the whole Perix family. And she's like putting honey on her arms and giving her the whole like spa treatment out in the forest.
Gave her the
and
moth treatment.
The moth treatment. And I was like, she fucking could have been bathing in blood at this moment. She could have got her powers back this moment. The second she got away, from the mountain, why did she not think
Yeah,
to
you
be
just gotta rip out Parvaneh's heart and then it's
not
easy
Parvaneh.
peasy.
This is where I was like, you just have her like give her a little bit of blood. You
Yeah,
don't need the heart. This is why I think that it's not. I don't think that Soraya bathes in heart blood because she just can control rose thorns and rose bushes at the end of the book. And she's kind of poisonous. Whereas Azad bathed basically, like you said, used the heart as a loofah, which is hilarious. I'm going to have to draw this.
Please do.
He turned into a demon with scales, and he was like a serpentine.
I think it was mentioned earlier on that was due to the quantity of blood used. Like he went overboard with the loofah heart, whereas she was just like, okay, a couple drops of blood in the water, that'll be fine.
Yeah.
And now she's used up some of that, and she's just like, well, I've only got this little remnants left, so
she could have asked the owl lady for some more.
I don't think she thought of it at that point. She's kind of dumb.
Yeah, that's very true. As a reader, though, I was like, girl, get on this. Get re-cursed, and you could be anything you want to be,
But
and then
honestly, you are mid moth sexy time.
I
right?
suppose. Yeah.
And if you get cursed, you have to stop that right then.
I mean, you could work it into the ritual.
Maybe.
I mean, it's true, but
there's gonna be.
She was very. I see it as very distracted.
Okay. I see.
Also,
that.
I was wondering about how stable is this whole like transformation thing really, because I don't think that they really know the outcome of any of this stuff. They're just like, well, loofah guy turned into an actual demon.
Yeah.
So we should dilute this a little bit. So maybe a couple drops in a in a bath,
And now you're a gardener.
and let's see what happens there.
You're like gardening with Cisco over here.
Yeah, I feel like they gave her the smallest possible dose, and they're like, "And come back in 2 weeks, and we'll see if we need to up the dose or
she's
see how you're
poisoned.
doing." Yeah,
She's
No more.
perfect.
No
We're
more.
gonna
Touch her.
leave
That's
it
fine.
there, and that's
Touching her is probably a bad idea.
Okay, so I'm confused too. Okay, this is what I cannot believe with this book. The rest of it, it's a great fairy tale, but this part, this weird blood part, like how the child was bathed in a couple drops of blood and it made the whole bathwater red when she used the blanket that had some blood on it still, which wouldn't make sense because the blood was added to the water. So why was there blood crusted on the blanket? And
Because
then
they
the 20
pick the
years,
baby up out of the water and just
With
put her
the
right
blanket.
onto the blanket.
but it would
Well,
be
no, no,
diluted.
it
It
would-
wouldn't be blood crusted though.
No, and it was
Wouldn't it though?
it would be
If
pinkish.
you have blood in your
I think they described it as pinkish.
But also, like 20 years later, or however old she is, she put the blanket back in the like 2 bucketsfuls of water, and it made the water like
Slightly pink.
pinkish. It's like that was already diluted to begin with in the blanket. I don't think it
Maybe
would have
demon blood does
had,
different
So
like-
your main problem with the book
Yeah.
is quantity of blood to
Also,
pink water.
It sounded as if somebody bled on the blanket. Like I cut a vein open and there was fucking blood all over this blanket, and then it dried and it got all crusty and there was like dried blood was how it was described on the blanket. And then she was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna put that in some water."
Okay, time to do some experiments with blood on blankets.
Yeah.
Who's going first?
also their blood may.
We're all gonna be blood brothers
Yeah,
tonight, baby.
the amount of pigment in the blood might be different. I mean, this stuff could be basically like food coloring, where you drop three drops in a bucket, you're like, "Oh shit."
Yeah,
That's
That's
what I'm
a lot of
thinking.
color.
I'm like,
Like
you can't, it doesn't turn water pink. just a
human
little
blood
bit
might
of,
not, but
No.
you never know about
Yeah,
like
That's
really
very
potent
true.
blood.
Yeah.
And
Div blood
how
could
many
be
drops
different.
is a few drops? Is it like 2 or 3, or is it like
Yeah, because if you like cut your thumb open,
That's
just
very
like yeah, that's a few drops of your entire body's worth of blood. It's not like
if you cut your palm, that's gonna bleed a lot.
it's gonna bleed a lot, but if you cut your
Or you
thumb,
cut your wrist off, or like cut your hand off completely, like, "Oh shit."
yeah.
That's where I would think the water would be discolored. Okay, like not just a couple drops. You wouldn't see that. So,
So
yeah,
really, what
those
we
are my
need to do is
questions
the
for the
scientific explanation of
Get
like,
her on the show.
how many drops of blood does it take to get yourself to div powers versus
Yes.
not
Yeah.
div powers?
Yes,
Because she became almost full div at
she
the
came
end.
more full, which does not make sense to
No,
me.
but it-
she surrendered to her creature and became full div, but it was with the
Here's-
leftover blood from
but
the blanket.
Here's
from
the thing: I
beginning.
don't think it mattered about the quantity.
It was all power of mind and
It
will.
was how
and-
willing are you to become what it is.
Okay.
Like she
She
did
was
not
fighting it.
want to be
Yeah.
Yeah.
poisonous. She wanted to not hurt people, and so she was constantly fighting her curse. The moment she surrendered, she grew the thorns. She became the thing that could control all these things. And you know, you've got Nasu, who's like the controller of the dead, right? That div that is full of rot and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, she became the div of flowers, but she still became a full div. Like she's fully creatureified, right? And she can control the venom coming out of each of her thorns. I think it was more just mindset.
Yeah, that's true. I believe that. I would have believed it more though if she was like fucking like bathing in blood and the blanket was crusted in blood, not like, oh, a couple drops in some water and then you were like bathing in the water and then the blanket got some water on it and now she's like recursed. That's not, I just don't see that.
You're
You
talking
just
like
get-
full on DMX, like "It's Dark and Hell Is Hot" album cover blood. Look
Yeah.
that up, folks.
So basically, what you want to do
will be
is like
blood.
you want to Breaking Bad the formula down of how much blood gives me X power, then dilute it and snort it for a little bit, and then you can go and like kill the little creatures.
Yeah, 20
Yeah.
years old, like 20 years old. Like, come on, it's probably maybe it even has some. I don't know if it's diluted at that point or it actually is like what is it, condensed or like
Congealed.
or consolidated or even
Dried.
more powerful.
Yeah.
My bad. That
I
was
just have to- those are my
DMX, flesh of my flesh, blood of my blood.
Yep, exactly. That's what I was thinking. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot of blood.
That's
That's-
great.
That
Yep.
is. It's very good for the skin.
So
I could imagine
that would be your complaint. My complaint. Well, no, it's not a complaint. It's a suggestion if they wanted to remake this book as a different genre. What they mentioned in very clear words is that the Shahmar cannot be killed in his demon form. He has to be in his human form. For some reason, the feather comes into that. I don't think that it does.
Tickle him to death.
Well, no, because it like forces him to be forever human or whatever.
Yeah,
But
it reverses the divness.
right, but he has shown himself to be in his human form multiple times during this book. And so if they wanted to transition this from an action-filled sequence at the end to a different kind of action-filled sequence at the end, she could just seduce him instead and take over both kingdoms.
Or make it a comedy in which she's constantly trying to kill this oblivious guy who's just trying to give her the best. And it's like anvils are dropping right next to him and stuff like
this poison again? You're so sweet.
You're so
you
funny.
almost got me.
and just every time it's just like whoop, and he's back to being a demon just in the right nick of time and stuff like that. That would be a fun genre.
Or Parvaneh and Shahmar realize that the true evil here is Soraya, and they team up and take her out, and then they rule the land.
I mean,
Forbidden
they
love.
have 200 years together. You can't tell me they didn't have a little something going
I'm
on.
They know
sure
each
the
other
hatred
well.
was strong there. I'm sure they didn't.
Passion is passion.
Yeah, I was gonna say sometimes those volatile relationships. I mean, it's just
They did say they knew each other well and for a long time.
They go way, way back.
Okay, so what is everyone's rating on this book? We're going to go around the table, starting with Danny.
Okay. I gave this a 4, maybe borderline like 3.5, but you don't take halves. So
I don't take
4.
halves. 4 stars.
4. The second half of the book, little wishy-washy. She was a little wishy-washy and she couldn't figure out what she wanted to do, and it was really frustrating to me. But once I got to the ending, I felt like it was a very solid ending. I was very happy with it. I was really happy with them deciding to end Azad and her getting together with Parvaneh because she's awesome, and her also getting recursed. Like, I felt like that was really cool. And it was not, I didn't expect that. I thought she was done with being cursed. I could kind of see it, but I really, really like the ending. And then overall, I feel like it's almost a reread for me. Like, I think maybe I missed some stuff. I really liked how it was a different from a different like culture than what I was used to reading for fantasy. It's Persian.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't read the very ending of the book where it actually described all the different like lore and the names and what all that stuff. I was like, man, that would have helped us out in the first time we recorded like the first half of our.
That's so funny. When I got to the end, I just kind of kept flipping through to see if there's like about the author or whatever. And I saw all of the descriptions of everything we talked about in the first episode of like, we had to look all this up. And it's like,
It's right there.
Well, you know what? I'm reading this on Kindle, and that's not very evident.
oh, okay.
Oh,
So,
okay.
like, I would not have known that would be even a part of this book.
Well, we didn't know until we
Yeah.
finished it too. So
Like,
Right.
just doop, doop, doop. Yeah, so
There was
I
a
was
glossary at the
happy
back?
with the
Okay.
ending, so that did bump it up from like a 3 to a 4 for me.
Okay. All right. So, Kelly, what's your rating?
I'm giving it a 5. I really liked it. I like that all the characters are really, you could go either way if you think about it for a minute. I like that it's a little, the story is really simple, but the concepts are a little bit more complicated than they seem at first. I thought that it was interesting, and I thought that it was like a kind of a nice escape. The last couple months have been pretty stressful for me in my personal life, and so it was the perfect pace for that, to like read it and just escape for a minute and have a good time. I thought it was really nicely done.
Okay. And 1?
I would go with a 4 as well. One thing I really liked about this book was its ability to instill imagery. I felt like a lot of the time I was really enjoying just imagining the scenes or the settings of where the story was taking place. Really enjoyed it. And I think overall, I really enjoyed the characters, kind of reading about the different types of these divs and creatures that... and also to see like how the story played out and I don't know if tropes is the right word, but to see how those like the connections were made throughout the story that got us to the end.
That is something we didn't touch on actually, is how the descriptions of the book and like how well written it is. Like there were so many very beautifully written scenes and descriptions of the scenery and the people in it. And it's just like I have so many tabs on just like sentences and like in quotes. That I'm just like, wow, this is really beautifully written.
I would say that this book is really well written. I think I'm going to go a little lower than everyone. I'm going to go with a 3. And it's not because there's anything wrong with the book. I think a 3 is perfect. It's like a good, solid read. But I don't know if I'd pick it up again. I'm not quite sure who I'd recommend it to. You know, I enjoyed it, but there was points at which I put the book down and I really struggled picking it back up. And it was just one of those things where it's like, I'm reading this book, but I'm not compelled to continue reading. There's nothing driving me forward to continue reading this book. And I don't know what it is. There just wasn't something there that like little magic dust for me that just clicks with it. All the right elements were there. We got a weird setting that I'm not familiar with, which I love. We've got odd magic. We've got sexy moth ladies. I mean, there's just so many good elements of this book, but it just didn't compel me forward. And so I would put this at a 3. If I could do the half stars, like I said I won't do, it would be a 3.5. But I'm gonna round down on mine and just go with a 3 star. I think it's a solid book for people who are looking for something set in a new area, but I'm not necessarily sure it's right for everyone. Well, this is where we're putting the book back on the shelf. We will be reading The Princess Bride by William Goldman next, and we will read up to chapter 6, page 201, which means stop after chapter 5, page 200.
I'm so excited.
I am too. I didn't even know this was a book. I'm really excited.
Yeah. We've all seen the movie, right?
Yes.
It's been a hot minute.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us on this podcast. Buddy read with us on GoodReads and Instagram at Dog-Eared Discourse, or view our reading schedule for the year on our website, dogeareddiscourse.com. Thank you very much for joining. Have a wonderful day, everyone.